This tag video is great for people like me who hate making decisions. Hi, welcome, come on in. My name is Aoife and today I am taking the this or that book tag for romance readers. I spotted this on Heather from Bookabuzz channel and I thought it was a really great way to welcome in February. This is the first video of February, so I thought that this would be the perfect one for me to take. I haven't taken a look at the questions in preparation of this. I usually do take a look at the questions, come up with my answers, but this time we are doing it all on the fly. So let's see how this goes. I'm not entirely sure how many questions there even are. I think there's about 10 to 15, but I'll try and get them done as quick as possible. Question 1, cliffhangers or a happy ever after? I like a happy ever after. I'm not a big fan of cliffhangers, especially if it is a standalone novel. A cliffhanger can make me really ruminate on it for a really long time, especially if I know that the next in the series isn't coming out for a really long time, or as I said, if it's a standalone where you're just supposed to make up your own idea of what happens afterwards. It's not something for me. So for a romance book, it has to be a happy ever after. Question 2, angsty or cutesy? I am a cutesy girl. I am a contemporary romance reader. I don't tend to go for dark romances. I don't tend to go for like boss mafia kind of things. I like to go for your straightforward, traditionally published cartoon cover romances. Question 3, a standalone or a series? I absolutely love a series, no matter what the genre that I'm reading. I love getting to know a character, getting to know their world, maybe seeing their friends who are going to pop up in other stories, maybe seeing their family members or like following them throughout different periods of their lives. I really love getting to know a character throughout that big stretch of a series. You don't tend to get that with a standalone book, or if it is stretched among a long period of time, it doesn't feel like you're getting to know them as in depth. Question 4, BookTok or Bookstagram? I'm on both, and I think I prefer Bookstagram because that is where I get most of my ideas from. That's where I get most of the books that I want to read. That is where a lot of the books from my TBR have come from. But I do enjoy BookTok purely for the memes. I really love the kind of trending sounds that you can put into videos. I really love seeing what kind of things people are talking about, and there's always a lot of discourse on TikTok. And I feel like a lot of the time I get swept into that, especially when I don't particularly want to get swept in. So I think it has to be Bookstagram. Question 5, people or objects on the cover? I like a people on the cover. I really like these cartoon covers that you see quite a lot, but I think my preference is for people. It gives me a really great idea as to who it is that I'm going to be reading about, what they look like physically, maybe what their background is. It gives me a better picture in my head because I am one of those people who can't necessarily make a picture of what they're thinking in their head. I am not necessarily one of those people who can picture the characters. I'm not necessarily one of those people who has like a movie playing in their head while they're reading a book. I'm not very good at picturing it. So seeing these characters on the cover does help me out a lot. I have lost count of where I am in the questions. New releases or backlist? I love a backlist. I love going back over things from an author, especially one that I've just discovered. If I've read maybe their 6th or 7th book and I know that there's so many more that I can go back to. But I tend to buy a lot more new books. When I go out to my local bookshops, it's always the new upcoming bestsellers that I'm getting. Whereas I actually enjoy reading people's backlists. So I actually love seeing their evolution as a writer and as their storytelling progresses. So I think from a purchasing point of view, it's usually their new books. But from a reading point of view, it's more often than not the backlist that I'm looking for. TBR or a free-for-all? In the middle. I make TBRs sometimes. I will make them for a readathon or I will make them seasonally, and I try to stick to them. I always try my best to stick to the TBRs that I am making, especially if one of them is a buddy read or especially if I know that I need to read it for a video that's coming up. But I am a really big mood reader. I really like to go to my shelf, just kind of stand in front of it and say, what am I feeling? What do I feel like I'm in the mood for? Do I want to change the genre? Do I want to change the format? Do I want to change the length that I was reading? Or I'll ask a friend of mine to pick a book for me because I'm just that uninspired at the moment. So I do try and stick to TBRs, but it doesn't always work out. Open Door or Fade to Black? I am an Open Door girly. I like reading sex scenes. I enjoy reading sex scenes. I have read a couple of Fade to Blacks recently and I've discovered that I'm not enjoying them as much. I think I just need that little bit more entertainment and that little bit more spiciness in these books. So I enjoy reading Fade to Blacks, and there are Fade to Blacks that I have enjoyed in the past, but I more now tend to reach for books that have more explicit sex scenes in them. I haven't, however, gone full-blown explicit sex scenes yet, but maybe that is something I can try in the future. Audiobook versus ebook. It depends on the place, it depends on the time, it depends on my mood, it depends on the day of the week, it depends on what I'm wearing. It can be such a situational thing that I don't necessarily have an answer. If I am at work and I'm not doing something that really needs a lot of concentration, for example, if I'm just inputting data or if I'm just reading through something that's really quick, I can read an audiobook. I can listen to something in my headphones when I'm in the office, or if I'm at home on my own, I will just have it playing in the background. Whereas I can't read an ebook while I'm at work, but I will get on the couch during my lunch or on my commute on the way home from work. If I've been in the office, I will take a physical or an ebook out and I will get reading it then. I really value electronic books, whether they be a digital copy or an audiobook, because they've opened accessibility to books for so many more people. There are people out there who cannot read physically at all, who either don't have the hand movements or who don't have the vision to do so, and audiobooks have been such a great help for them. Every time I see that discourse of, oh, an audiobook doesn't count as reading, it genuinely enrages me because of the ableism in it. Matte or glossy? I think this is about the covers. I don't really think I have a lot of glossy covers. I think a lot of the covers that I have are quite matte finished, so I think that's the one that I have to go for. Buddy read or flying solo? I enjoy buddy reads. I do them quite a lot. I have a couple that I know are coming up this month, so I am going to be able to discuss a couple of books with people that I love. But I also really like flying on my own and going to people that I know who have already read it, or going to a Goodreads review of the book, or asking in a couple of Discords that I'm in, or asking friends of mine, hey, have you read XYZ book? I'm reading it right now. What do you think of it? I was actually asked this question at my book club a couple of weeks ago. What is important for you in a friendship? And for me, one of the big things is having something in common to talk about. And I think that that's why I love a buddy read so much, and why I love discussing books with friends so much, is because it brings me closer to them in ways that other things just don't do. Small town or dark romance? As I have said before, I don't tend to go for dark romances. There are a couple on my shelf. There are a couple that I know of, but I am much more of a light and fluffy girl. So I am big into your small town vibes. I love a book that's like Stars Hollow in a book. I love a book that is set by the seaside, or set in a cafe, or set in a bookshop. One of those like stereotypical book jobs. I eat that whole. I am a small town romance girly. Sprint read or marathon read a series? There are a couple of series on my shelves that I have it in my intentions this year to read all of them in one go, either for a vlog or just for my own entertainment. But I don't know if it would be, okay, read this and then read another book, and then read another book in that series and then go to another book overall, or just pick up book 1 and do not finish until you've gotten to book 5 or book 3 or book 10 or whatever it is. I'm not entirely sure how I want to go about those videos, but I do enjoy going one after another with series. An alpha or a sweetheart hero? And I have to go for the sweetheart heroes for this one, because alpha males make me roll my eyes so far back I can see my brain. I don't enjoy the cockiness or how full of themselves they can be. I've read a couple of books where I've genuinely despised the main characters because the main hero was so unlikable to me because he was cocky, because he was confident. It's not the kind of people that I would look for in real life, so it's not the kind of people that I enjoy reading about. Read multiple books at a time or read one book at a time. And I can do multiple at a time, but it has to be different formats. So I could do 2 different romances, but one of them would have to be an audiobook and the other would have to be a physical or an ebook. It wouldn't confuse me too much because I would have that separation then in my head of these are characters that I hear about and these are characters that I am reading with my eyes. It just has to have that little bit of a dissociation for me. Baddie or damsel in distress hero? And I think it has to be a baddie. There are some books that I've read with really strong, really vibrant female main characters, and I've absolutely fallen in love with them. As opposed to the alpha male, I've really loved their confidence in themselves. I've really loved their self-assurance in a different way than I did with the alpha male, because it doesn't come across as cocky all the time. So it has to be a strong female character who is well able to stand up on her own 2 feet. Slow burn or insta love? I am somewhere in the middle. I've read a couple of books recently that were so slow burn. I don't think they actually got together until about 70% of the book, and that turned me off so much because especially one of the main characters had already been hooking up with other people on the side before they had officially gotten together. Didn't enjoy that part. But also, I don't love a book where they instantly clap eyes on each other and they are starting planning their wedding and building a house. I don't love the full-on insta-love, but I also don't love this full-on slow burn situation. So it's somewhere in the middle. Those are my answers to the this or that romance book tag. Do you agree with any of those, or are there any of them that you really want to fight with me about in the comments? If you'd love to leave me a comment, but you can't think of anything you'd like to say, then just leave me a weighing scales emoji. Don't forget to like and subscribe because I have new videos up every week. Now, get on out of here.